It's dark, it's gloomy. Makes snow and rain, thunder. Creates Germany. They never get any sun. There's no warmth. People are cold, inside and out. It is terrible. Yeah.
It's freezing, it's snowing, dark, blue.
Yeah. And so one day this cloud feels as if it's being pushed around by some force. Looks out and says, oh my God, it's the wind. It's the wind that's pushing me. More powerful than the cloud is the wind. I want to be the wind. Becomes the wind. Uproots trees. Uproots people. And one day it comes to realize that it's hitting against something that remains unmoved. Looks out there. It's the mountain. More powerful than the wind is the mountain. I want to be it. Becomes the mountain. One day the mountain is sitting arrogantly. The mountain begins to hear something. Looks out there. There is this tiny little stonecutter with a tiny little hammer and chisel, breaking it into pieces. And the mountain says, more powerful than the mountain is this man. I want to be him. And so he becomes what he was. What's the point of this silly story? If you examine your questions, you realize very much like the stonecutter. You get up in the morning and you say, I want to know what wisdom is. And so you come to class and you say, I want the answer. It's like, I no longer want to be a stonecutter. I want to be the man seated on the horse. I suppose the story has a variety of different meanings, many different layers to it. The layer I'm most interested in is the following. If for whatever reason you're angry, don't try to get over anger by becoming something that you're not. Accept the fact that you are angry. Embrace it. Understand it. Go on this quest, like Moses, to figure out the reasons for your anger, the reasons for your brokenness. If you're like me, brown, if you're black, if you're yellow, if you're white, if you've ever been oppressed for any reason, embrace your oppression by asking the right question. Why is it that people enjoy oppressing other people? Instead of asking, why is there wisdom? Ask, why is there ignorance? Because that's what we have. And that's what we'll have for the rest of our lives. Why? You see, when you're 18, all you want is sex, but no obligation. But when you get to be 25, 30, psychologically, sex alone is not sufficient for you. You have entered a different stage. You need a different language. You need different tools to survive relationships. You need to be able to ask your companion, will you stay over? We'll have breakfast. We'll go somewhere. Then there comes a point where that in itself is not sufficient. You want marriage, stability, predictability. You want a family. You want a solid foundation. And you realize that every different stage you enter, you will need different tools. You're always going to be ignorant. Always. You see, I may be standing here arrogantly, talking about things, but I have no idea how my philosophy will be useful if I have cancer, bedridden, can't move, can't eat, can't clean myself. You know, I have been autonomous, independent for the past 58 years. I don't know what it means to rely on other people, to clean me, to feed me. Do you know how difficult it is for me to remove my pride? That's the stage. I'm not there yet. I'm not quite sure how I will be. I may really come to realize that everything I've done for the past 50 years have been a complete waste of time. You are victorious where you are. You made it to class. But just because you made it to class, it doesn't mean that end of the semester you'll know what philosophy is. That's a different stage. Failures. You have to leave?
I just want to say,
I am so sorry for not having answered.
no. I was just going to say, that was very good.
Thank you. See you Thursday. Can I just tell you what a miserable failure you are? Is that okay? Thank you. Parents have sex, you're here. Initially, you can't do much. You lay flat, looking around you. Then you roll, then you sit up, then you stand, then you walk, then you run. At this age, you just don't know where you're walking to. And no doubt, since you don't know where you're walking to, it means you don't really know what you want. Which means that for the most part, psychologically, you're just in the dark. You're winging it. And 99.9% of the time, it's going to be a failed attempt towards happiness, contentment. But there is another awful situation about all of us in this class. Once you're done with Laney, you realize it's not enough. You need to get your bachelor's. Once you get your bachelor's, you realize that's not enough. You need to get your master's. And these are all disappointing stages. I mean, you need to go through them. They're not paralyzing, but they're disappointing nevertheless, that you thought it'd be enough, but it's not. Then you realize you're no longer happy living in a studio, so you buy yourself a tiny little place. But then you realize that you just don't want to be alone. Then you find yourself a companion. And then, if you're a woman, at a certain stage, your body will create this trauma inside you. Give me a baby. Right now, when you're young, 18, 19, 20, say, nah, never gonna have a child.
Marriage is death.
I'm sorry?
Marriage is death.
Marriage is death, but you will be married. Now, no one enjoys going to the bathroom, but you need to drink. So you'll go to the bathroom. And the point I'm trying to make is that we are animals that desire. You can't survive without desiring things. And whenever you desire anything, it means that all the things that you have is simply not enough. But there is also this other part where you do so much to prove yourself to other people and to yourself, only to come to a certain place in life where you realize it's just no longer sufficient. Almost everything about your life is a complete failure. And it has nothing to do with you, really. Can I tell you a story? It comes from one of the best books you will ever read in your tiny little pathetic lives. It's called the Gospel of Judas. Have you looked at it? You should. Most of you in this class should go home and it's only a couple of pages. Where are you going?
Go home.
Go home for what?
My class.
Your cat?
Class.
Class? What class? This is your class.
Microeconomics.
Micro.
Thank you.
Oh, God bless you.
Thank you. Too.
Take care. I'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Gospel of Judas. Let me connect Gospel of Judas to our friend's question, Jamal. I know some of you don't like Jesus Christ. I don't like him either. But consider Jesus as nothing but a bucket of wisdom. Is that okay? No Jesus, just a bucket of wisdom. In the Gospel of Mark, what do you have? You have a bucket of wisdom just walking around, telling people what wisdom is, showing them how they should live their life. You know what happens to this bucket? It gets kicked by everybody. Nobody likes this bucket. It's a gospel that talks about a bucket that gets brutalized on a daily basis, gets whipped, gets slapped, gets spat upon, gets rejected. That's the Gospel of Mark. The entire book is about wisdom being rejected. What happens when you keep getting rejected? What's going to happen to your self-image? You're going to be in the Garden of Gethsemane, aren't you? Oh, let this guy pass by me. I thought wisdom is good. I thought people would embrace wisdom. I've come to realize nobody really likes it. Human beings don't enjoy truth very much. So on the cross, you know what wisdom says? Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, why have thou forsaken me? How could such a wise man feel abandoned? Wisdom. What happens when you want to tell your truth to your mother, to your father, to your brother? You imagine they're going to embrace it. No, they're going to accept it. But no, they'll reject you. They'll slap you. They'll villainize and demonize you. Any of you in this class who have any truth, any experience, authentic, sincere, share that experience with someone, anyone. They will never accept it. So much so you will find yourself in this metaphorical garden where you begin to doubt yourself. Maybe I'm not gay. Maybe my father is a nice man. Maybe I'm not poor after all. The power of society, the power of media, there is so much force in it that it'll crush your certitude about anything. The Gospel of Matthew. Who will you talk your truth with? Not strangers, your family. Jesus talks to Jews. What happens? You would imagine they would say, yes, you're my son. You wouldn't be dishonest. You wouldn't lie to me. You're my daughter. I will embrace you. But no. من از بیگانگان هرگز ننالم که با من هرچه کرد آن آشنا کرد. Strangers don't reject you. They don't reject you because you don't care for them. You're not going to give them your goods. You're going to give your goods to people you trust. Imagine one or two or all of you in this class feel relatively comfortable. You enjoy your classmates. You enjoy me a little. And you raise your hand and you say something that you have kept within for the last 10 years because you have this feeling that this is a trustworthy environment. And you say your piece and everyone in this room laughs. And you're pissed. It was your jewel. And what happens when your own people reject you? What are you giving them? Wisdom. Do they want it? Nah. Why? Because you can't fight against ready-made ideas. If you have a conclusion, I can't convince you otherwise. So he says, if my own people don't receive me, maybe I should go to others. Gospel of Luke. What happens in the Gospel of Luke? No different. But this is a different Jesus, you see. You know what wisdom says after getting rejected in the Gospel of Luke? He says, you know what? I know why people are stupid. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I know why you don't want to do the assignments for this class. Your life is busy. You work 2 jobs. You didn't come to this class because you wanted to. You were forced into it. The assignments, they're not really exciting, inspiring. I understand your position. And because I understand your position, I shower you with compassion, with forgiveness, with a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. And because ultimately I come to realize as a human being, all of us are losers, I say, you know what? Hell with it. I'm just going to give him a D. It's not because I like you. It's only because I know what a loser animal all of us are in this class. That is the Gospel of Luke. The Gospel of John does something really, really amazing. He says, you know what? I've used words to talk to people. They suck. People suck, words suck. Not a single story in the Gospel of John. Not one. Imagine if I was to come to class, go like this, and all of a sudden produce bagels and donuts. What are you going to do? You're going to go to your parents and your friends. This class will no longer only be filled with 20 people, but thousands. And Jesus comes to realize something very, very, very important. Forget reason. Forget common sense. Forget language. Don't talk to people. They suck. The only way you can change anyone, magic. So for those of you who want to go get your PhD in communication and talk to people, for those of you in this class who want to be therapists because you want to change people, learn from the Gospel of John. Change is nearly, if not altogether, impossible. No one is going to change. And then you have the Gospel of Judas. Oh, it's a beautiful book. It's so beautiful. It's more beautiful than Beyonce. The Gospel of Judas, Jesus goes to his most favorite disciple, Judas, and says, Judas, please help me. Judas says, Master, what's going on? Help me. Why? What's happening? I hate people. I hate life. There is nothing good about life. Add to it this most important fact. My body. I wake up in the morning, I want a bagel. But to get the bagel, I got to get into my car, go to college, stand in line for 5 hours. I take this bite, bagel and cream cheese. Oh, it's delicious. I want more of it. So I eat more. And then I get a tummy ache. Then I have diarrhea. Then as I'm sitting on the toilet bowl trying to figure out when this stuff is going to come out, I feel psychologically bored. So I grab my phone and I go through Yahoo, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Tinder. And when I'm out, now my eyes ache. Now I want to take a nap. And I realize most of my time is occupied with the desires of my flesh. As long as my flesh is active, it overpowers the desires of my soul. And my soul really wants only one thing: to be with God. So kill me, please. If I die, if my physical body dies, I'll go directly to God. And Judas says, you know what? I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to sit on you. I'm going to give you to the Romans. They'll kill you. And your soul will come out and fly to the gods. Talk about a complete loser who tried only to realize it's no good. What is it? I once saw a pillar cat. Or do you say caterpillar? I don't know where the hell it was going. It was going somewhere. And then it went into this hiding. It built itself this tiny little cocoon. And just lived like a hermit, a monk. And then it struggled to cut a hole in this cocoon, and it did. And then after a while, it just emerged as a butterfly. That's a good change. Not very many people change from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Most of the changes you and I go through are quite traumatic. They're negative. They'll paralyze you. For any change to be productive, to be healthy, to be positive, you need tools, good tools. You know, have you ever been to a dollar store? You should go there today. Buy yourself anything. How about some aluminum foil? Go to a dollar store and buy aluminum foil, okay? And use it. The other thing you can do is go to Costco and buy aluminum foil. When you go to a dollar store, the aluminum foil is very, very, very thin. It's easily breakable. When you go to Costco, it's going to cost you about $25 for 2 rolls. Oh man, it's thick. Sometimes not even Superman can break through it. And the point I'm trying to make is this. Most of us in this class, we enjoy $1 store tools. You know why? They're cheap. That's how much we can afford. If you want to change anything negative to positive, you better have good tools. But good tools are expensive. And you don't create the tools. You have to get them from somewhere. And if you only have $1 in your pocket and you go to Costco and say, I have $1, I want this aluminum foil, they're not going to give it to you. If you go to Socrates and say, Socrates, you're a wise man, I want your wisdom, he ain't going to give it to you. You don't have the funds. But there is something you could do. Find Socrates. Be friends with Socrates. Let him like you. Little by little, he'll give you tools. You have $1 in your pocket, he'll add 5, and then 10, and then 25. Then after a month, you realize you got $50 in your pocket. Now you can go to Costco and get an aluminum foil. Change is never growth. Change is always disastrous. Always. Why? Because change means you're going to be pushed into a territory that's unknown to you, unfamiliar. You lose power in change. Right now, I am married. When I go home, I'm married. If my wife tells me she's going to divorce me, that's change. Is that going to be a happy change? Am I going to celebrate? Unless I have a crummy marriage, and I don't. What's going on? No, I got none of those things going on, man. Imagine she just comes up and says, I've decided to be a nun. Fuck. You guys are upsetting me.
You're welcome.
Ah.
I apologize.
I want to tell you a story and then we'll go home. I had a student about, 25 years ago. I was teaching in Sacramento. She had been married for about 15 years and she had 3 kids. My class was the last class she needed to get her bachelor's. The tragedy for her was that she was older. She was just she was a sponge. You're a concrete. She was a sponge. Ideas didn't ricochet off of her. It just went inside her and they stayed inside her. And it was an 8-week course, second 8 week of the semester. She comes to my office about 2 weeks after the class. It was 2 days a week from 1 to 4. And she starts crying. What is it? I can't do it. Can't do what? I can't be married anymore. What are you talking about? I don't want to be a mom anymore. I want to major in philosophy. You're a married woman with 3 kids. You're almost done with your degree. You have a job. What do you mean you want a divorce? I can't do it. I want to pursue these ideas. That's change. So let me tell you what happened to her. She didn't have a support system. If you're going through a change, you better have a support system, otherwise you'll get crushed. She left her husband. She left her 3 kids. She left her house. She lived in a car. When I moved to Oakland, she drove to Oakland every single day, 4 days a week, a summer class. She signed up, became a member at a gym. The only way she could get rid of her emotions, boxing bag. She went punching at it every single day. 2 years later, she ended her life. There is nothing wrong with change if you have the tools to live through it. Otherwise, you'll get crushed. Right now, you're a single woman. Let's just say you're hetero. You're going to get married. That's a big change for you, man. You can't just leave the house. You can't just come home at any time. You can't just hang out with any friends. You can't come home drunk. You can't come home high. You got to be good to your in-laws. That's a big change for a beast like you. And if you can't adapt to that change well, he will leave you. Let's just say you have a great marriage. You're going to have kids. They're going to suck every ounce of energy you have. And in return, they'll give you frustration. That's change. And man, you better have some money for a babysitter because you need at least 2-3 hours to yourself. You better have a husband who will do laundry, vacuuming, cleaning. Otherwise, you'll be on your own. Change is good as long as you know what to do with it. Don't mind him. That's, anyways. Do you have any questions or comments? Peter? Go ahead, man. We have like a minute. We can do a quickie. It's the American way. Peter, hurry up.
I experienced brain trauma the other week. I can't think fast anymore.
You had a what?
I hit my head on a door handle.